What's up guys, Alex Critic here, and Paranormal Action Squad is among one of the worst things I have ever watched in my life. I genuinely wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not.
YouTube Red Originals are premium content made by YouTube's biggest channels that come in the form of various movies and shows. I'm bringing this up because Paranormal Action Squad is a YouTube Red series. The series is an animated comedy revolving around the team of paranormal investigators who fight mystical otherworldly threats. The characters that the series follows are best friends Paul, voiced by C-Niners, and Eddie, voiced by Mr. Sark. They're accompanied by their loser acquaintance Vanos, voiced by Vanos Gaming, as well as a sentient computer named Pad and a centuries-old genie named Orb.
As a fan of Vanos Gaming, I wanted to give this series a chance despite how bad the animation looked, because awful animation doesn't necessarily mean that a show is going to be awful, and I hoped that the joyful insanity present in Vanos' videos would translate well into an animated comedy. Having now watched all 8 episodes of the series, however, I can now say that giving this show the benefit of the doubt was a huge mistake. Not only is the writing so fast-paced that it's difficult to get a hold on how anything in the universe of this show is supposed to work, but the characters themselves are bland and unlikable, the animation looks like dog shit, and the humor is, well, lacking to say the least.
Your real mouth is softer and sweeter than I could have imagined.
That's not my mouth.
Okay, if those weren't your lips, then why were you puckering them up and leaning in on Eddie?
On the whole though, this show is inoffensive. There's nothing about it that anybody should really get that mad about. It's a stupid, hour-and-a-half mess of a show that can really only be enjoyed by the hardcore fans of these YouTubers, sure, but it's relatively harmless, and I watched the series without finding anything noteworthy to complain about. But then there's episode 7, a masterclass in kicking butt.
Not only does this episode want to teach us an insulting moral, but the writers treat their audience like idiots who have never seen a previous episode of this show before. Get ready guys, because we are about to dive headfirst into some god-awful shit in this review. Let's get things started.
The episode begins with our protagonist taking a tour of a museum.
That is clearly a Tarbosaurus batar. It's commonly mistaken for the T-Rex, as they are both theropods of the Jurassic era.
This is a T-Rex, actually. Some say it is the meanest of the prehistoric era.
He's mean because of those tiny arms. He can't touch his junk.
Well people, you've just gotten a taste of the 90% of jokes that I told in this series. Hope you liked it, and if you didn't, then I'm sure there are other things about this cartoon that should grab your attention, like... well...
The tour is interrupted by Sasquatch, who is Eddie's archenemy and has been since the beginning of the series, when it was revealed that he killed Eddie's wife.
Watch. No, Eddie, don't let him get to you.
Why is he always taunting me? Shit! He murdered my wife, isn't that enough?
He also killed Eddie's lover in a previous episode of the series.
I don't want to rush things, but I think I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with you. What the hell? Not again!
Remember that, by the way, because those moments are going to bite this episode in its ass.
After we see a short montage of Sasquatch doing other horrible things to Eddie, including impersonating the corpse of someone close to him, Eddie fights Sasquatch inside of a caveman exhibit.
We're finally here, Sasquatch. Face to face. Man-o-e monkey.
Eddie, he overpowers you times 10. You gotta get out of there, man.
No, Eddie, stop. That thing is going to kill you. My god, is the voice acting in this show fucking awful. Half of the time, nobody even sounds like they give a shit about what's going on. Come on, YouTube is paying you guys millions of dollars to act, so I expect you to act.
I'll give a little bit of a pass to Vanoss since he is supposed to be playing a fictionalized version of himself, but Mr. Sark and C9ers don't do anything unique or interesting with their roles. Maybe that's just a fault to the voice directors though, and not on the actors themselves, but that doesn't excuse the fact that these people are just playing themselves. And if Hunt Down the Freeman has taught us anything, it's that hiring YouTubers just to play themselves when they're supposed to be portraying different characters and emotions doesn't at all make for very inspiring performances.
My fellow Americans, as your president and commander-in-chief, it is with a heavy heart that I'm informing you that we have made a strategic decision to surrender to the alien invaders known as the Combine.
Anyway, after Eddie gets his ass kicked by Sasquatch, we cut to the theme song, which is honestly not that bad. I mean, it's nothing special, but it gives us a taste for what this series is about. After the theme song, though, we cut to Paul talking to Eddie about his feud with Sasquatch. Paul tells Eddie about how he needs to strive for peace of mind and learn to accept Sasquatch for who he is and move on from hating him, despite the fact that Sasquatch has literally killed people Eddie has cared about and has done nothing to prove that he's earned such acceptance. And after a weak joke about taking a puff from them bongs, yo, Eddie goes along with it. Just like a victim who blames themselves for what happens to them would, we cut to Paul and Eddie having a meditative session in the desert. After Eddie talks about how he's found inner peace, he and Paul are visited by John Dickman, an action movie star who wants to train Eddie to kick some Sasquatch ass.
If you're asking how a famous celebrity like John Dickman knew where our protagonist would be, or why he even cares about helping Eddie in the first place, allow me to give you a simple answer. You see, the writers don't have the talent to write a plot that makes logical sense and would much rather just have things happen to our protagonist. If that pisses you off, then congratulations, you've stumbled upon a major reason why this show sucking fucks.
Paul? Yeah, the spiritual thing? It's over. Thanks for the intense 3 weeks of training, Paul.
Okay, so Paul and Eddie have spent 3 weeks having intense spiritual workouts? Could you not be bothered to show us that happening? Forget skipping scenes, these niggas are skipping entire fucking acts.
The next 20 seconds of the episode are spent on an action montage?
So you couldn't be bothered to animate Paul and Eddie having meditative sessions, but the action montage, that was okay, that was totally doable.
After completing John's rigorous training exercises, Eddie has to prove his worth against Vanoss and special guest H2O Delirious. Of course, they beat the shit out of Eddie, and John says Eddie is a hopeless loser who will be Sasquatch's punching bag forever. Eddie tells him that he's going to fight Sasquatch anyway, saying that it's better to go down fighting than go down a wimp. We then cut to our protagonist shopping around at a farmer's market, and their day goes by normally, until they're suddenly interrupted by Sasquatch, who's tearing through a group of civilians, killing an elderly woman in the process.
And is it just me, or did the animation suddenly get much better? I guess we know where most of this show's budget went.
Huh? Hey! Chewbacca! Oh no, Eddie!
Excuse me, but what the actual fuck happened with Paul here? Why does he still resemble his original character model in a scene where the animation experienced a major upgrade? He was in the shot for 1 goddamn second. Are you seriously telling me that the animators couldn't be bothered to keep the art shift consistent? This is amateur hour bullshit.
Sasquatch and Eddie have a long fight that eventually ends with Eddie beating his archenemy to near death. After his gruesome act, the crowd begins to boo him. Wait, what?
What?
You killed him.
Oh my god, Eddie murdered a monster that killed an elderly woman and injured several civilians a few minutes ago? For shame, Eddie!
Look, it's his parents.
Aww. Eddie killed a creature that had a loving family? That is just so off. Wait a minute, didn't Sasquatch kill Eddie's wife?
Why is he always taunting me? Shit! He murdered my wife, isn't that enough?
And didn't he also kill his lover?
What the hell? Not again!
I mean, for fuck's sake, Sasquatch killed an elderly woman a short while ago, you idiots! How in the hell can any of you blame Eddie for killing a literal fucking monster? What, now you're throwing shit at Eddie? Fuck you! Fuck all of y'all! Let's see you try to act any differently than Eddie when Sasquatch kills your loved ones and constantly harasses you. Anyway, we cut to a dinner where Paul and Eddie talk about what happened. Eddie says that he's learned a lesson about how revenge isn't good for you, and it's revealed that Sasquatch wasn't beaten to death and is actually in a triple coma. In fact, here's how the episode ends.
Boy, I just wish I had the chance to do it all over again. Sasquatch! He's alive! It's gonna be okay! Oh, thank God!
Hooray! Sasquatch is going to live and Eddie is going to continue putting up with this shit even though there's no logical reason why he should. This is the most disgusting thing I've watched in a long while. Even more disgusting than the hentai I masturbate to.
I hate this episode and everything that it stands for. Its moral is bullshit. Eddie has no reason to accept Sasquatch for who he is and what he's done, yet he does so anyway because we have to keep the plot moving and we can't have characters acting sensibly. That would only make the show bearable to watch. Why does every comedy show make the same goddamn mistake when trying to teach a moral about revenge and being a bigger person? If you're going to write an episode where you want the protagonist to learn that lesson, make them unsympathetic. Make the audience want to see them taken down a peg. It's that simple. Instead, the writers of this episode of Paranormal Action Squad decided not to have Sasquatch face any consequences whatsoever for his actions because in their eyes, Eddie was in the wrong. He was the guy who fucked up. Not the monster who killed his wife, his lover, and an elderly woman. No, it was Eddie. He was the problem. He was the one who needed to chill out and find inner peace. Fuck this show.
The very fact that an episode like this passed through all of the stages of production without anybody realizing how offensive its message was speaks to the overall quality of Paranormal Action show and how nobody working on it really gave that much of a shit. And when nobody gives a shit about the show that they're producing, then it's no surprise that that show turns out to be a steaming pile of garbage. I'm Alex the Critic, and I'll see you guys next time.